Well, Elon is still swinging, so I'm going to have another swing too, because if it seems to me like Elon Musk is actually having it. He's not going to back down. He's actually going in on Starmer. And it's like, okay, if you're going to do it, why not do a better job of it? I'm just saying. If you're going to go all in, why not, go all the way in? Because you see, this is the thing. Rochdale, which is the epicenter where this started, the first time it was exposed, is Rochdale. And it's like, I've been here for the last 43 years. And for most of them, I could have told you that there's something fucking going on with people who work for the council. I got to find out the hard way when I was 7 that there was something amiss with certain adults who were trusted with kids. And, no one ever asked kids. You come home from school one day and they say, well, what did you do at school today? It's like, I got the shit kicked out of me by an adult. Well, you must have done something. The people are so trusting. The parents are so trusting of what happens, what it means to be involved with the authority. It's like they're trusting about what it means to send your kids to school. And I'm not being funny here. I'm like, I went to schools where, schools I went to, there'd be girls who I went to school with who, if you approached it right and had a quiet moment, they might share the story with you of the number of times they've had to fight off being raped at school age by other kids and older kids. It's like this thing the feminists were pushing. It was like Naomi Wolf, wasn't it? Who was a pusher of that, and she was calling it rape culture. And I remember them on campus. It's like no. No, there's rape culture in the lower classes of society for absolute sure. For absolute sure. And most of it isn't done by or perpetrated by adults. It's kids on kids or older kids on younger kids. And then somehow there's an arbitrary line drawn at a certain age where suddenly that becomes highly criminal activity, where it was a free-for-all up until then, and we just covered it up. Right? There's a thing about what happened in Rochdale as to where everybody's actually been tricked. And this might sound, you're like, what? Tricked. And this is my angle of the scandal, not the situation. The situation, I think you might understand it by now, but I know how terrible the situation is. I understand it as worse than those who are painting a very bleak and black picture. I can paint you an even blacker one as to what's behind this. But the scandal, I cannot get past the fact that Sarah Robotham, former council employee who worked at the children's sex clinic, who'd have girls coming in as young as 12 and she'd be giving them contraceptives and putting them on the pill without their parents' permission or knowledge. Something done through the schools. And these young girls who are sexually active, aged 12 and 13, they like to mouth off. Vadim, 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 vadim. And there's something that sticks out to me like a sore thumb. And that's when Majid was screwing this young girl, it became suddenly a great big problem. But when Mike was having a go, she was expressing a sexual identity, wasn't she? She was exploring her sexuality. She was trying to find herself. All things I hear feminists say to women who find themselves in that position where they're just, in essence, being passed around. Oh no, she's just discovering her sexuality. It's like the whole fucking street has had a go at her. No, she's just finding herself. She's growing up. That's what they say. That's what you get from them. That was the orthodox, we're the women and we're in charge feminist thinking. You just can't stand the idea that girls grow up faster than boys do. That's shit they used to say. Women are more mature than boys, always, and at the same time as, you know, you're 16 or 17 and you've got like 40 fucking pelts on your belt, and to be saying, she gets what she wants. She's a strong woman. That's what they'd be saying about them. It would be far from the truth, but that's what they'd be saying. So it's like the sort of those who expose that crap, the feminists, right? They are moral degenerates. Anything goes to them. And their view of the world for years has been like the view of the world that we hold up. It's like there's a world of work that I'm not compatible with that stands by those values. So I'm like, hang on a minute, we can call it something different, but it's this. And it's that conditioning that's made these people who are accountable for the safeguarding of children, has made them absolutely blind to sexual assault and abuse amongst the young. Blind to it. The perverts. And I'd say, you know, in a place like Rochdale, there's so much child sexual activity, right? That them narrow-minded bastards who are supposedly looking out for the kids will be like, well, I had sex too when I was a child. It didn't do me any harm. Not recognising that you're now acting in what could be a pathological, avoidant way. They're aloof about it. That's the thing. It's like there's amongst some and some goings on, an active cover-up for years, right? And then this Muslim gangs thing, that's like, oh, this looks bad. That's something we ignore, but oh, this looks bad. And it's them who's made it about race, and it's them who've modified it as to, right, it's them who've calamitized it. Because it's crept up on them from nowhere, because they were completely avoiding it. They were pathologically avoiding what goes on in the schools, what goes on amongst the youngsters. And the only repercussions they were seeing it was picking up the homeless off the street who had all kinds of tales of abuse and cruelty. They were completely asleep. Asleep. I mean, I've looked at this from so many different angles as to, hang on a minute, right, the council, I know loads of people who work for the council. They wouldn't take me on when I applied to work for the council. I didn't get a favourable result in the Myers-Briggs 16 personality test they gave me. And there was a role play situation they gave me, and during the role play, I was tasked with actually fobbing someone off in a nice way. When I said, I'm not lying to people, I'm telling the truth. In this certain role play, I'd have been dropping someone in the shit, but leaving them with a smile on their face. You know what I mean? That's what they wanted to hear. And I'm like, no, I'm not lying to people. And that was a big problem for him. So it's a matter of, no, we don't think you're suitable for the job, John. Okay. And they provided feedback and said that I'd failed the basic literacy, IT literacy test they gave me. And I'm like, oh, did I? Really? All you had to do was cut and paste a few things. Maybe I've cut and paste something wrong. And it'd be a matter of that excuse. And then it's I also same process. I had a group interview, right? And I was the only person in there who in the group interview, I was the only person there who came from the private sector. Everyone else was a former NHS member of staff. Well, it's like the NHS were laying off, or there were a lot of people decided to jump ship, and I were in a room full of NHS, and none of them knew how to lead a meeting or even actually take part in one. They all just took goes and turns, right? Talking about, hello, my name is Janice. I'm an administrator for the NHS and I'm a feminist. And we do things a certain way. What? I'm like, this is some kind of fucking ugly old woman encounter group. So I'm eye rolling, right? I'm like, really? So it's like I went through a couple of days worth of process in going to work for these people, meeting the other candidates. They test you, don't they, as to how you get on with others. I'm sat in a room full of feminist cluckers, like old fucked out middle-aged women, and they're saying, "Oh, from a different planet." At that time, the way things operated, from a different planet, being like private sector, it's like they expect me to work for a living, or they're on me. All you NHS lot, they don't expect you to work for a living. You just get a list of things to do. If you don't get to the end of it, think of time. Sorry. You know, I was used to being paid bonuses for my performance and stuff like that, so you have to keep yourself at a high standard of quality of work. Well, they're not. No. So in productive terms, it's like I'm as productive as like 4 of them. I ain't kidding either. Productive as 4 of them. And it's like, these are the people that they hire. These are the people that they want. These are the people that fit in best with the people they've got. So what you've actually got there is a real culture of crackpots who know to say the right words. Seriously. Failed the personality test. When I take one of them Briggs-Myers personality tests, it always comes back to just to say, this is the wise leader. Put this guy in charge. But they don't operate like that. They don't want someone to be in charge. They want someone who will do as they're fucking told and be receptive to training, who otherwise thinks they're brilliant. So they isolate, like INTJ. Oh, that's who we want. And then you get these people in front of you and they're like, my identity, my feelings. It's like they're self-absorbed. They're not seeing nothing. That's what they're like. That's the individuals there. It's like they can justify anything to themselves, so they can justify anything that they ever hear about. It's a massive problem at the council as to where a huge culture of people have got who are absolutely ideologically driven, narrow-minded, and in those circles of society, or those kind of people, they've got no sexual boundaries. That's what made them the people they are. They'll turn a blind eye to anything they hear of, because so are you. In that company, those people to at any time during my career, when they've thrown about just talking about sexual things, they'll make rape jokes and things. They'll make rape. They're the people who make rape jokes. Talk about it as if it's nothing. And if they hear about it, they're like, "Oh, what are you on about?" Like, you'd hear a story of where it'd be a matter of... There's this thing, isn't there, where... There's a song by Van Halen called Hot for Teacher, which is very funny. I remember hearing it when I was 12 and 13 and thinking, well, it's like... I think the way little boys are when they're in school and they're looking at teachers, they'll all gravitate towards the best looking teacher. And she might not be a 10 supermodel, but they'll be like, because they're 13. They're 12, they're 13, they fancy practically everybody apart from the other little girls. Adult woman-wise, little boys are very impressionable to the advances of teachers and sometimes are in love with them. So you get it as to where people know this. People remember having crushes on certain teachers. So when they hear the story of the 14-year-old boy who's had sex with the 38-year-old teacher, they're like, lucky bastard, I'd love to have been in his shoes. And they actually have a point, because it never happened to them, but in their imaginations it happened 1,000 times. But actually faced with the moment of it, it's like, wallop. There's a massive gulf between it happening and not happening. So you get people who hear these stories where this teacher has child with pupil of 12 and things like that you hear about. It's like, lucky lad. Or they'll put the pictures of her up and they'll be like, oh, good on you. And it's like, if a teacher that I had a crush on had ever propositioned me, I don't know what I'd have done. There's a chance I might. There is, in some ways, a firm 50-50 chance I will have had sex with them. You just don't know until it gets thrown at you. But so many people have imagined it and thought, that would be a fucking turn up for the books. I wouldn't mind having a go at that. But if you're a 13-year-old who thought like that, it's like 13-year-old boys that are sexually active, right? So that's one as well, where you hear that teacher as well, and it's like you could have a weak teacher and a well-developed, sexually aggressive 13-year-old boy, and he might actually have a shot at seducing that weak teacher. Might actually have a shot at it. She only has to be weak, promiscuous, call herself a feminist, but be, in essence, being passed around, but using the internet to do it these days as opposed to the 10 out of 10. Find herself in that way compromised. That's something that happens in the world. It's like, so you can point to, say, Rochdale Council, and apply its absolute lack of sexual morality until somebody pointed out something. And then applies its racist black and white thinking to that. There's a pattern here of these Pakistani fellas are all having sex with these girls who come to the clinic for condoms. And suddenly they apply their black and white thinking to it and say, oh my God, that looks bad. And then set about covering it up, or in the case of Rochdale Council, right, hanging it out. There's too much heat around people who get away with things at Rochdale Council, and there has been for many years, as to where they've got this absolute fucking blinded to sexual abuse code of silence. If you're someone who sees the danger signs of that, they'd be looking at you and saying, well, you prude. They would. You'd be like, oh, what are you, like some kind of stiff? Why are you stiff? Because you'd be like, that's out of order. What's wrong with you? It's the current year. They like that. They shut it down. Any talk of what's right, and they'll shut you down. It's the culture of the place. It's like, oh, so you start getting names like Vicar and Father. It's like, what's my nickname? Brother John. How do I get that nickname? For being a monk. For actually being someone who says, you don't want to fuck your best mate's wife. Seriously, you don't want to do it. That's why I'm Brother John. Oh, you're a monk, are you? Oh, so you go around telling people, and it's like, no, I'm trying to save your fucking life for you, mate. But it's like my techniques often were ineffective, sometimes very effective, but often ineffective of saying, don't do it, mate, you've got kids, and that's a fucking ruin. Don't do it. I came to realise that my technique was wrong, and what you actually have to go and do is get access to like a scaffolding plank and go in with that knock 'em offer. You turn in, mate, it's like, right, mate, right, I've got a fucking big piece of wood here. I could have picked up the scaffolding pipe, but, you know, you're my mate and I don't want to hit you. I don't really want to hit you. But I will hit you with this great big piece of wood if you don't put the whore down and go home. Been that bloke. Tried. Doesn't always work. Sometimes it does, but it's a matter of, mate, she's a psycho, right? Go home. Go home, you've got a wife and a couple of sons. Don't do it. You're opening the door to trouble. Yeah, but I like her skin. I want to sniff cocaine off her. No. Go home. Because you're playing with a 50-50 chance that to come tomorrow, everyone will fucking know about it. And you'll be living in a world where how many of these people fucking here speak to me missus. You might just say, oh, I heard a fucked up story about your husband the other week. Or don't tell her, and that secret be something that starts to fucking gnaw on them. It's complicated. I see repercussions of all that. I've seen it go round and round and round over years and be like, someone coming along to you and he'd be like, right, you know nothing about it. I'm like, fucking come on. You know nothing about what you... Like, fucking come on. You know, you think you know, shutting me down is going to shut the whole fucking world down. But they do. They always think that, don't they? that when something happened and it was, let's say, sordid, because that's the thing with sex, we like to pretend there's no guilt or shame attached to it, but there is. We can't get past it, it's built in. They'll like to say that it isn't, and they'd like to say that there's people who understand that it's built in. There's no escape from it. You don't want them people around you reminding you that that's the case and that you're playing with fire, and there's repercussions to this. It's like you're risking starting a war in your own household, where suddenly the government's going to be in your fucking business. And what seems to happen to kids around here whose business ends up in the hands of the fucking government? You're opening all kinds of doors when you break up the home, and them outsiders are invited into your life, bearing in mind who they are. Anything goes. Fucking radical feminist, fucking I know everything. And, you know, they might be effective at reassuring people that they're an authority and they know what they're talking about, but they don't and can't know everything. And say their attitude towards sexual activity be so aloof, so that it, for years, just pile up for fucking years. Just pile up for years. So those who understand just how, in their way, corrupt and blind they are, that's what turns it into a free-for-all. That's what that's what adds to it. Where parents will say, well, she's started staying out. She's coming home later. She's supposed to be in by 9 o'clock, but she's had this spare coming in at like 11 o'clock, and we're so worried about her, and we've had a word with her about it, and she's not talking to us. And Rochdale fucking youth expert be like, you just can't handle the fact she's not your little girl anymore, can you? That's their attitude. They throw down full feminist. She's exploring her sexuality. They would give that to parents who are saying, you know, it's a bit fucky what's going on. That's what they'd be giving them. That's what they'd be saying to them. These are like cliches to me that I heard 1,000 times. They come out of women's mouths automatically without thinking, like they're a pre-programmed, thought-terminating cliche attempt. Let's shut this down. And then suddenly it becomes you that's somehow got a problem, right? And they'll come back as to say, you know, John, if you're worried about things like this, you're probably not getting enough sex. That's your problem. And they'll turn it around on you and try and use the same, like they basically try to sexually shame me for saying there's something amiss about that 55-year-old girl seeing that 18-year-old girl. And I'd be like, there's something gone on here. This just doesn't just happen. And for being that person who points to that as to say, this could be trouble, this. And it always be trouble, right? It'd be a matter of, it's, that's you again, fucking applying sex to everything. I'm like, no, this is me knowing a thing or two. Having seen how this fucking shit turns out. I'm like, so it's like I've been hounded out by this prevalent anything goes and defending anything going. Like, I fight for somebody else's sexual freedom because I want my sexual freedom. It's like free speech. It's like that. I protect your free speech. I'll stand up for your right for free speech because yours is a threat to mine. Well, they're like that with their sexual immorality. And just thinking nothing of it. So you've got it where when that scandal came along, you've had that nobody's had lost their jobs, but they've all panicked and had to come up with all kinds of very clever smoke screens. And it's like they're already under a lot of investigation for their failures that have led to like thousands of boys in the 70s and 80s, boys and girls, but mostly boys. There's a lot of gay nonsense that goes on in Rochdale, and nobody's really interested in that. It doesn't seem to be such a fucking issue for Elon when loads of little boys have been getting seen to. Just saying. It's like if you're going to go for it, go all the way. It's like the way our councils, it's the mindset of the fucking left. They've entrenched themselves, and it goes hand in hand with just that. It's a psychosexual thinking. Narcissism and psychosexual thinking, that it just goes hand in hand, and it's a matter of, I pick up on it, but I'm like, well, that's bad. And they pick up on it, and they're like, no, it's all good. It just looks bad. They'll have been like, nothing going on here, as far as they're concerned. I like a shag too. They'll hear a story of some girl who's 14 or 15 who's being passed around town, and they'll be like, good on her. She's taking control of her own life. Seriously, they would just call it something different. And the lot of them, it's what they like. It's like times have changed now as to where now it's a matter of, oh no, we have to now be pious and say, oh, this is zero tolerance to this. Oh, absolutely not. But before then, they were like, anything goes. Really, like really bad. It's like I say I'm someone who's from near the bottom, and you know, every now and then I get thrown into a group with people who are at the very bottom, whether it be a workplace, whether it be some kind of training scheme they've sent me on from the Dole, or you know, all this youth employment stuff. And like, I started started working I started as a milkman as a boy, and then I became a painting and decorating apprentice, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to be either a joiner or a plumber. But because I'd started one and then gone for another, you know, the people who I applied to be an apprentice plumber are like, well, why did you take the job as a painter if you wanted the job as a plumber? And I'm like, well, I just took it to tide me over. And they're like, that ain't good, because it's not, is it? It's like if I'd not took one job, I'd have definitely got another. So it's like that's me being as smart as fucking I was at that age. So I finds myself then, I didn't get in the trades in the end. I missed my window, so I was then put into the council's YTS scheme, which was like this kind of workhouse daycare. And it's like most of the people who were there were, it's like, who are these, why are these people down here and we're upstairs and they're downstairs, but we're doing more or less the same bullshit as they are, bits of fucking woodworking and shit. Why? You're like, oh, that's a different government contract. And you're like, what? So yeah, they're called category A. They are disturbed young adults, don't they? You're normal. They're disturbed. And I'm like, oh fucking hell, I'm normal, am I? I should have gone in the half mad category. I think I was, but that's what they call normal. And Jesus, right, you should have seen the fucking state of them lot. Like, oh. And they were like outrageously, like shockingly, like on each other like fucking rabbits. You get talking to them at their living accommodations, and they were like in what they would call sheltered accommodation, but they were in sheltered accommodation with other fucking lunatics like themselves. So they were just fucking a show of each other day and night, like swingers. It's creepy. It's like you get it. It'd be like fucking hell. It's like this is eyes wide shut. This shit. Like some scene from some fucking that's probably actually about the core of it, as to where I saw a demonstration of this bullshit once, and it'd be like a scene from a fucking 1980s porno movie, which it was probably a reference to, that I wasn't sharp enough to pick up on. Where it'd be a matter of, oh, I live in the same sort of sheltered accommodation building as her, and she's like, I want you to come round after work and I want you to fuck me. Alright. Now, if you didn't know that she was, you know, that the government had put her into special needs training, right? And you slapped a dress on her and sent her out at the weekend, anyone would have been stumbling across her and thinking, oh my God, she's hot. And they wouldn't have been the first to see it. The first to see it would have been when she was about fucking 9. Something like that. She was messed up. And this lad who's just proposed, he's like, I'm on a promise. He's thinking he's the fucking biggest, greatest man in the world. He's like, hey, I might be late for work tomorrow. Hey, fantastic. And I'm freaked out, like, fuck, like, that happened. And he's like, looks like I'm getting a shag. And he went, and there's just a stronger likelihood he wasn't, and she just said that to fuck with him because she could. But it's Rochdale. No, he'll have been getting sold the full fucking menu. So it's like, you might think that I'm pointing towards like the lowest of the low. It's like, well, it is the kids usually and relatives of the lowest of the low and the lowest of the low themselves who end up in that sort of deep trouble. And a lot of it's to do with, here's me being meta on your ass or going for the invisible, but certain conditions of brain damage that they know about, but I think there's more than one way for it to take place, and I think it's probably more prevalent than people realise. And that'd be fractured amygdala. I think there's a lot of it. I actually think there's people who end up in incredible amounts of danger, where they put themselves in bad company and then suddenly they're in a room with 10 guys, right? I think that they've got brain damage that put them in that situation, as to where their fight or flight fear responses are just out of whack completely. They'll not see the trap until they're in the trap, and then become freaked out or frightened of completely inappropriate things at the same time, as to where that fear centre regulation is just fucked. And it's like you just make a few mistakes like that and suddenly you're in a very, very, very dangerous situation. People like that can do all right in life as long as they're aware of it, and the people around them are aware of it, and you basically put them in a place where there's not so much cruelty because they're particularly susceptible to it. They can go on to be do all right, have a life. But I think there's other ways that it can happen. I think that a lot of it, when people get that kind of thing, it's usually a damage to them in utero. That's why the women should not drink when they're having babies, because you can fracture your baby's amygdala in the womb, and you will always have a special needs child that gets into lots of trouble, that tests boundaries and plays the victim a lot and causes lots of trouble. Can't fit in socially because doesn't have the same sort of instincts as the other kids. So it's a big problem. But I think that people who go down very, very badly, and it's a small number, isn't it, of kids, but they'll take drugs for the first time and end up brain damaged by them. I think that's down to that as well. I think LSD can cause brain damage. I think actually smoked young enough, I think that cannabis causes brain damage as well in kids. I think cannabis actually is pretty okay when you're 25, 30. Good stuff, I'd say. If you're someone who drinks in the house on your own and it's too expensive or it's really getting you down, like wean yourself onto it instead. It's like if you're an alcoholic but you sat in your house and it's getting too dear for you, switch over to being a stoner. It's like, believe it or not, it's a healthier choice than drinking, than drinking 10 cans of lager a night, which there are those who do, to drown out reality and escape. It's like this country's got this mental health crisis, right? And it's moral bankruptcy and it's sexual immorality, as to where it just lets us, anything goes. It never questions anything. We kind of all watch each other destroy each other and ourselves. And then anyone who puts their hand up and says, hey, you guys have destroyed yourself with having all your affairs and your secrets and all lies you've told. Hey, look, you've destroyed yourselves. Shut him up. You've gone visibly mental. You can't see the wood for the trees. You're completely got your head in the sand. You've started to avoid things that are difficult and do things that are easy. Shut him up. So I'm just not corrupt like they are. I am corrupt like they are, but I look at it different and I'm like, hey, hang on a minute. It's like that. I'll tell you for just a fact as to the way that organisation operated. Yeah, everyone gave everyone the benefit of the doubt and smiled at each other and said, "Are you all right?" And you could tell them any tragic story of some like terrible sort of sexual encounter, and they'd be like, "Yeah, my first time were traumatic too. Really wasn't that bad though, was it, love?" Look at it as an opportunity. And you know what I mean? You get it where council workers are giving girls in care the speech, fill your boots, giving them the feminist, they're not their relatives, they're the clients, aren't they? But giving them the feminist carousel pep talk. Go out and find yourself. That'd be the kind of lifestyle advice coming from people who were charged with giving, of looking after them at the council. These are the ones who end up in trouble, These are the girls who end up in trouble. It's like the process of them being groomed is complete, right? Before the pimps get at them. Before. It's like those who are tasked with caring them are so liberal and in their way hypersexualized in their attitudes towards, sex. Sex. I've had loads of sex. People who treat sex like a human right. Then, go out and go out and discover. Go out and study your sexuality. Never let on to them that you might be gay or a lesbian. Or unsure in that way. Because tell you what, they'll introduce you to some of their gay friends who will make sure. Or, give you the gay acid test. It's like this sort of this sort of thinking, this sort of hippie attitude towards sex is and was amongst, say, certain sets of women who work within the frame of work well within the framework of the politically correct workplace. This is what they like. This is what they've taught them. Anyone should have worked out by now that the worst elements of being in prison is that you're getting political correct bullshit forced down your throat. The worst thing about going to school is that you get political correct bullshit forced down your throat. Worst thing about working somewhere is you get political correctness shit forced down your throat. The only place you're free from it is when you're at home and you choose not to engage in it. It's when you don't get political correctness forced down your throat. Well, them kids who have been in care of the council in that time, they've had it 24 hours a day, haven't they? Only God can judge me and all that lot. Very postmodern education for those kids. And all it served to have done is put them in just absolutely tremendous danger. Them not having a clue that the world is full of people who see them as potential meal tickets, a source of fucking money. The same way as the council looking out for them and someone having a job doing it is somebody who gets paid. This human being is a source of work. And the council are not the only people who will profit from this person's need for an assisted life. The pimps, the dumbest fucking idiots in the world, see these people as they say, easy meat. And they don't even realise just how much trouble they're getting involved with them. They just see it as, it's just sex, isn't it? So to them, those girls, to people like that, young girls, are just toys. They're that crazy themselves. You get these, say, women who find themselves in with those kind of predators. They get introduced to a whole world of fucking new kind of crazy real quick. And if they don't handle it right when it first appears and get the fuck out of there, go and seek help, they end up staying there. Life in Crazy Town. Become one of these people who perpetually believes you're being watched and fucking stalked and monitored. Become one of them. The world is aware of putting victims out of commission by brainwashing them. Hypnotising them, if you like. You don't remember any of this. Easier than facing the trauma of it. We live in a world where people avoid situations that could potentially give them an emotional flashback to something, an incident where they fucking died. Where everything was destroyed. And they will live their lives to try to avoid having to face that kind of thing. So it's like that avoidance of all this really, I mean a ridiculous amount of, we're a hypocrite society. When people get to the age of 16, anything goes. And then we find out that people don't respect the law and they kind of do whatever they want and there's no one around to stop them. And anyone who would stop them now gets called all kinds of names. And while it were happening, you've looked away. It's like, what does that say about where you came from and what the fuck you were up to when you were 13 years old? It's like there's a deep problem in them leftist organisations as to where they've become homes for whores and, people who are villain and victim at the same time. That's what the old setups become. They've pushed their way to the front. And they've actually, they've had people deleted with this big shit test of the trans thing. Oh, this will trip all them old fuckers up, won't it? Throw that at them. Oh, well, excuse me, out. Get out your job. You want me to what? You expected to be treated like a woman now that you've become a woman when last week you were dressed as a man? Really? You're going to impose that level of control over me? You can't give it a name, the disease that's infected that orifice, the local authority, with the fox guarding the hen house situation that's made itself abundant. As you've created active incentives for the creepiest people in the fucking world to do the best, to do whatever they can, to go and work for the council and get involved in this activity, as if drawn to it magnetically. And to be saying things like, well, I had a really rough upbringing, me. I was treated very badly, and all I want to do nowadays is to look after kids and see that they're not treated badly. You get people who go to the fucking council with a story like that and be actually put in charge of kids. They're drawn to it. Cur work. Abused people being drawn to caring for others. I'm not saying they're all bad, I'm saying it's the pathway. And it's like severe, poor lack of judgment shown in recruitment towards people, because these people are the masters of eliciting sympathy from others. I'm a victim too. I understand what it is to be a victim. I'm a victim too. Oh, so that means you've got this magical empathy. You're a victim too. Which suggests to anyone who knows that you can be actually controlled with sad stories of fucking woe. You'll suit our purposes. It's a sick orifice. Call itself something different, but that's the scheme of things that allows it so it gets exposed. That through, it's not coming through the fucking news. It's getting exposed over years, over word of mouth. The start of the I can trace this back a long way, this start of this story of the Asian grooming gang. It's not anything like as sophisticated as people might think, because people have got mobile phones. To groom and share out somebody, it would be just to, between a few of you, one of you's got the ability to lure them into a trap. So this grooming gang's like, I've got this girl, I've got this girl, I've got this girl, I've got this girl. Right, so you can lure her to this place and then we'll all be there. Yeah. And it's a matter of, right, okay, she's fallen out with me now, she's run away, so now she's got no one she can turn to with a story. So you, mate, she doesn't know you know me, right? So you're going to go and befriend her and you're going to groom her again. And then we'll work her. That's the thing. It's mobile phones, it's groups, it's things like that. It's if you've studied Andrew Tate's War Room, that's what it is. It's a load of pimps, or in them guys are rapists, in cahoots to entrap and to basically play off. That's where people find that they've been actually strategically passed on to another guy. It's as if by magic. Yes, it is. It must be fate that we met each other. No, it wasn't. You've been passed along. Games like that being played, it's like that's what we're talking about in this grooming gangs. I still see it to this day. You'll get it where end of street from me. I don't talk to him, but I know him. I've known him for a guy I've known since I was a little kid, since I was about 12, 13. And I'll see him out in the street. And this guy, he's one of them. He knows that I know that he's trouble. And he knows that I know that he's trouble. And he also knows that I'm not trouble. So we can just walk past each other and say, you're right. There's no lie. There's nothing he can tell me that I'll ever believe. For a start. So it's that. It's so you can be, not understanding that, you can be, you're right. I see him end at road, and every few days his dealer will come along. You'll see his dealer, and he'll be a young Pakistani lad. I've seen twice. And some glum-looking girl in the passenger seat of the car, white girl, but she'd usually not be dressed like a kid. She would be dressed smart. She'd be having makeup on, so it's a matter of that cunt, right? Her boyfriend has picked her up saying, "Oh, I'll take you out somewhere." But then he's like, "Yeah, but first I'm going to do all my deliveries." So she'd be sat in the car like that while he's dropping bags of weed off. You look at him, it's like, the word is glum. And now, glum, it says something to you. It's in its way, it's like a way of hiding. It's a strategy. It's a good strategy because it's like an all-encompassing zero. Right? If that's what you put out into the world, you give it that glum. You give it that. People pick up on it. It's powerful. It's like it's a form of manipulation. Glum. Powerful form of manipulation. Or a silent way of sending a very, very highly emotive charged message to somebody. And I'm like, oh God. He's like, guy gets back in his car, drives away. Like, oh, he might be taking it to KFC now or something. She's a kid, be about 16, 17. She's dressed up in her best gear though. Put something nice on, I'll take you out. But first I'm going to deliver these 10 bags of weed. He said, do you know what that is? It's, well, that's kind of a mistake. It's a mistake, isn't it? It's actually not illegal. I'm not justifying. I think that it's a mistake. She's made a mistake and he's made a mistake. If you found yourself that that's what you're doing on a Friday night, right? You made a mistake. You can look at that and paint any kind of story you like. I just go off, what I could see. But I'm like, if you start trying to fill in the blanks as to what the dynamics of that story might be, it might be a matter of she's a street girl from Cocolt or Scotland who knows all kinds of fucking villains, who knows all kinds of rogues and likes some of them. And this on the edge of the law existence be something that's absolutely normalised in this place as to where he's not hurting anyone, he's just doing his bit to make ends meet. At least he's not ripping anyone off. There actually be a way that a story can be told that paints that as a rosy picture. As to where, Mr. Lad dropping the gear off probably got a day job. In fact, most have. It's the best cover for small time criminality of petty drug dealing. The best cover is a day job. People who are just drug dealers, they fall afoul. But people who've got a day job and are drug dealers, do whatever they want for years. I've worked in places where there's been a drug dealer at work. Never partook in drugs at work. I think that I know enough about drugs to know that things go fucking sideways with fucking pump trucks and pallets and fucking all kinds of things like that, and not paying proper attention to shit as to people getting fucking broken arms and lost limbs. And I've also seen people in the workplace who've decided to liven up the day, taken some unknown substance and then gone the fucking warpath and fucking stripped naked and started running around screaming. So, another Rochdale thing. Because of all the underlying and prevalent issues that we have with mental health and abuse, trauma, that episode of psychosis thing that I've just mentioned with the guy who took amphetamines for the first time in his life at work because he said he was bored, and the lad who was selling the drugs said, well, you have some of this. He wasn't bored anymore. But everyone in the fucking place learned something about him that maybe he didn't know, and that was he's a schizophrenic. And now he's had an episode brought on by them amphetamines. He's going to have more episodes. Well done. If something would have blown up in his life and had him come out like that one way or another, it's like the guy giving amphetamines and taught him something about himself. You lost him his job and saw him fucking sectioned. But like, we all knew he was the youngest of about 4 brothers of a family that the order was kept by, dishing out beatings. You raise people like that, and they break in different ways. Where he'd been pummeled submission. His brothers had a bit more character about him. Took the licking and got up. Some don't. So it's like, you've got a thing about, again, Rochdale as to its culture becoming one that's blind to immorality, right? Blind to it. And then when someone comes along and says, tells us a sordid tale of, do you know what happens to poor girls in this town? What? You start to apply these labels to it, and suddenly it seems bad. Oh my God, there's a racist connotation to this, and then that be that's a thing. I'm not saying like it's not a big deal. I'm saying no, it's been a massive deal for years and years and years, and something you look at, you catch a glimpse of Rochdale and its full fucking psychosexual degeneracy from time to time. And I mean, like, you did what? Yeah, you've got it where I've been wise enough not to partake, or even in some regards be left out of certain things that have happened in social circles that I've been in the past, where it's like, I got in a taxi and go to the kebab shop. It's like, I'll meet you all down there, and then like the rest of them have gone in a different car and they've gone to basically go and see the same prostitute who they've heard about setting up shop, And you'd be like, oh, okay, thanks for leaving me out of that. And you're like, what is it with? And they're like, you know, you kind of feel left out. You yourself have got a crazy brain. You're a younger guy, and you're like, oh, you've left me out. As to might have done you a favour, John. Might have actually thought better of you and thought, no, you don't need to be involved in this. You know, he'll have something to say, and wouldn't be able to keep his mouth shut about it. So you're sidelined. Isn't going to keep this secret. To be the outsider looking in for that reason's not such a bad thing. Right, cut him out of the picture. Why? Because he'll have something to say about what's going on here. Can't get him out of here. Ha! I will not keep, you know, really fucking fucked secrets. People tell me things, you know, the fucked secrets in real life. I mean, and things you do know about. I've had it put on me where people have put some real fucked secrets on me in the past. Where it's a matter of, oh God. So I'm keeping this fucking massive secret for you. Thank you. So I have to fucking live with this shit now. I have to be someone who's got insider fucking knowledge every time certain people speak. And it'd be like, this is... Hated it. Never let it go on for very long. So that, one minute you got a mate, and then next minute you got someone you keeping a dark secret for. Right? That sees marriage over and stuff. It's awful. I won't have anything to do with it anymore. Finding yourself a massive liar on behalf of other people to protect them from what they've got coming for things that they fucking did that they're lying about. It's a horrible life to live that. Terrible. Rubbish. You're wasting your time. Your friends aren't worth fuck all. Been put in that position many a time. I had to say I don't like it. It stops me from sleeping right and over nothing I've done. And then once you know about it, you're complicit, are you? Well, the whole fuck thing of, you know, my experience of getting to 50 in this place. There's a wound in me so deep that it kicks off, as to say, when I was like 7 years old. Over this business. Seriously, it's like I'm at the. My understanding comes from a lifetime of seeing, you know, there's a lot of not normal things I've seen, and you know, and it'd be a matter of I'm someone who's had it not a fucking 20th as bad as others. People seen more horror than I have, much more. Like, it's just the shit you hear talking to other kids. So I'm saying, sort of groomers, you know, people who chance their arms with kids. I've known many people like that who you know, to this day, they've never gone to prison for it, never been questioned about it, but as long as they could get away with it, did it. Loads of them. And they'd not be Pakistanis. They'd be people of all stripes who would be going after and grooming very young girlfriends. And us lads who went to school with the girls, we were like, fucking hell, we're completely cut out of this, aren't we? We can't get anywhere near the best girls in our own age group. We can't get near them. And it's just a kind of reality. So for a long enough period of time, it's like the loser at one end becomes the loser who starts the cycle again. It's like, so you think you missed out? Well, the trick is to get to them young, isn't it? All that shit I used to get fucking told off fucking crackpots I work with. You gotta get to them young, get to them when they're about 13. It's like, where did they learn that? They learned that off the guys who were going out with the girls that they went to school with, who were, you know, you'd gone to primary school with from 4. So it would be a person you could say you knew. Girls I went to primary school with, it's like you've known them since they were 4. There's a girl who lives in Italy called Caterina, who I used to sit next to when I was about 6, and I could not tie my own shoelaces, and she taught me how to, right? So every now and then when she posts up on Facebook, I'll give this fucking glowing thank you very much. If it wasn't for you, I'd just be fucked. I can't imagine what life would be like. It was the same. She taught me how to tie my shoelaces. She was tying my shoelaces for a bit, and then she taught, and then from me watching her tie mine, I learned how to do it myself. Where would I be now if I hadn't learned how to tie my shoelaces? It's an absurdity, but one that's funny to me. And it's a matter of, you'd have mates like them because you're little kids, so you can be friends. You're not thinking, ooh, she get it. And you get it where you watch them grow up, and you're like, with them, your relationship is very much, you're right, yeah, you're right, mate, yeah. And then suddenly they're getting to like 13 and 14 and they're being pawed at and fucking roughly handled, sexually assaulted, get all kinds of advances, fucking secret letters posted through doors, letterboxes, comments from strangers in the street. Depending how well they deal with that really decides what the future is, I think, with young girls. And the feminism thing has simply just enabled this trial by cock, if you like. It has. Because once upon a time you might have, to protect those women in a way that could be seen as chivalrous, right, would be to deeply offend them in the way that feminism has derailed what it terms as non-toxic masculinity is to say nothing and have an anything goes attitude to the behaviour of women. That's non-toxic masculinity. To deny that instinct, that if you say you're a kid who went to school with girls, you have got an instinct to actually, in essence, the girls in the pack. It's like we're little animals when we're kids. We look after the girls in the pack. We may have times where we chase them around and fucking beat them, as you do when you're about 5. But, that reaches its own natural conclusion, and you stop chasing and beating on girls, and then they do their thing. You play football and they do their thing, and it'd be a matter of that. It's like we work alongside each other in the primary school. Then you could have it where as girls you went to school with, you could have said like you'd have girls you went to school with who were your best friends at school, or from time to time were. Because you'd known them since they were 4 and 5. And then you get wind that what's going on with you. And you'd see with girls at school, they turn up with bruises. And it'd be like, hello. Little kids turning up with bruises. You can make up 1,000 stories for it. Why even fucking ask? But when they're getting like 13 and 14 and they've been smacked. And then you've also got fucking things kids do when a sign that someone's having sex with kids, right? It's a weird one. Love bites. You don't leave marks on people. It's very unfriendly. It's really a problem. It's embarrassing. It's a big fuck you. Suggest that the person who you've been having sex with wanted to leave a mark on you. So when you see a love bite on someone's neck or something, you say, what message is that person trying to send me who delivered that? Is it he's mine, or is it he raped me? Is it he's mine? Because that's what they'd say, oh, my girlfriend did it. She wants to show all the other girls that not to go near me. That's a good story. Say shocking in my lifetime. Shocking as to. So what do you do about this? Oh, well, they're both underage. It's anything goes. This notion of 16 as age of consent is an advisory figure that when somebody wants to point to something and go, they just invoke it. So it's a line that we arbitrarily draw onto a system that's long since fucking given up on that shit. Especially amongst teenagers. People from the age of 13. I'm saying you've got a culture in Rochdale that's absolutely blind to being concerned about children of 13 having sex with multiple or what. They're just not bothered. I get visions of teachers in school where it's a matter of oh yeah, go for it. Empowerment. It's like girls through the feminist lens are just fed like lamb to the slaughter. It destroys them, turns them into very bitter people, and then they become feminists. It's a recruitment program. Here, let the world treat you very badly, and then you'll see that we're right. It's men who's the problem. It's a massive scam and joke and evil, and leads girls into terrible situations in life. Real danger. But that's the world that it was. We know this. We know it's anything goes. We know they're intolerant. Society's been intolerant to people saying, hey, hang on a minute. There's mental health concerns about all this shagging, right? Anything doesn't go. You should look after yourself properly. Treat yourself with some respect. And it's like, oh, okay, old man. Whatever. And then they be amongst themselves. Cretins are all like, have you heard him? Fucking TV evangelist. See, this is the stage that's been set for all this shit that's broke out. And I'm telling you that they have not actively tried to cover anything until it became this story. I think they were really concerned about the nature of the local culture and how it's been poisoned by paedophiles, and badly poisoned by paedophiles. That's what they're trying to hide, and it be a matter of the cherry-picked one story out of 1,000 being these Asian guys. If you're caught offside doing that, you go to prison. You can't. It's being, but in Rochdale, that is to have been caught offside, like in a game of football. Like sometimes the flag doesn't go up and you go through and you score and you get away with it. You're offside. Well, then there's been caught offside where there's an arbitrary line now drawn as to. Well, usually we don't bat a fucking eyelid about this kind of thing going on, and we just say, well, you know, these girls, they make their own decisions and in essence play the feminist. Oh well, she's learning, you know, she's going out and she's trying new things, and good on her, she's getting out of the house. That sort of justification for it. Deadly trap. Just what chance them fucking girls have got when the people who are tasked with defending them, right, are actually not opposed or averse to what they're taking part in and what they're doing. They're not against it. How do you protect somebody? How do you protect somebody from getting themselves into a lot of trouble? Through you know, find themselves in the company who like the company of promiscuous young girls. It's like the council are in their way about it, about the situation. It's that they've surrendered. They know it's bad, right? But it's like, we just don't talk about it. They failed. Education system has failed to safeguard kids in Rochdale. All of it. The entire local authority has failed to safeguard children at school. And it is because they're blind to what's going on. They're just not interested. They completely ignore what goes on between children. Completely. You never fucking hear of it. It's all covered up. It's all kept amongst the kids, but the kids all know. So the kids are living in. You've got the kids coming out of school living in two worlds. One of knowing all this dark shit about what goes on, and one of pretending to be a fucking kid. Because every time you ever went to someone with it when you were a kid, they said, "Oh, it's now that's just grown-up stuff, you know." All right, okay, so you'll understand when you're older. They'd say to you, like, "Wow, just brainwashing genius." You'll understand when you're older. All right, okay. When you're older. Now shut the fuck up. Never speak of it again. You'll understand when you're older. They refuse to go there. They pathologically avoid and just call it something different. That's why that happened. The council were deliberately blind to it. Deliberately blind to it. Deliberately avoiding it. And everyone were telling them, and they're saying, "No, that's a can of worms. What do you want us to do about that?" Get it where be thousands of incidents of hooky shit going on in schools between teenagers. Did you hear about any of them? No. Was there ever an investigation into any kind of scandal? No. Never, anywhere. It's like teenagers find ways of the little bits of freedom they start to be given, making the very most of them and learning all kinds of tricks to think that 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 and 16-year-old kids are devious, shifty bastards capable of telling any lie that suits them to stay out of trouble. You're a fool. You don't know, you don't remember what it was to be a child. And they just left. The school duty of care goes, they stop turning up for school, or else school becomes something perverse. Nowhere to escape. I see that I remember a lot about school. It's like over the years, I've just spent more time reflecting, come to remember more and more and more about all kinds of things. All them little things where they said, how come, forget about it, you'll understand it when you're older. Well, now I've got to like 50, I'm like really understanding it. I'm like, oh no, okay, that was a way of saying, shut the fuck up, these are things that we do not address. For me, this whole thing that, you know, that people will they'll condense it and turn it into something that they can politicize under some very, very spurious lines. It's like, yes, there are many weak Pakistani men, but there's many weak men. Many. Rochdale has got a criminal class, an underworld economy, millions changing hands every weekend for white powder and the like. Like, wake up. How many people are in this system, this list? You know, like they'll say how many people are on antidepressants, and it's like, yeah, bring me the list, and then juxtapose it with a list of how many people are using recreational drugs as well. Fucking hell, of course there's a sweet spot. What's she do for a living? Oh, she looks after kids. Joke. The institutions you think are institutions are not institutions. They are places where people work who are half-arsed and in their way corrupt. They've got a lot of responsibility, but they've also got a wounded sense of morality. And then you've got it, well, then when that's the culture, the cost of raising the alarm is extremely high, because it's almost, you were looking for a surprise or a shock, a horror from the person you would take it to. And what if their attitude's like, well, what do you want to do about it? Not God. Because that's been the shape of the brick wall. Those who come forward and say, this is fucking, we don't like the look of this, it's like, we know that these kids are vulnerable, and if the public knew the truth about how dangerous these kids are, they wouldn't believe, you know, they'd change the world. We'd be like, we've got to do something to help these kids. It's like girls who end up in this kind of trouble are like fucked up to start with, and then this process just makes them worse. It just adds new things to worry about, adds new stimuli, adds new experiences, adds new lessons. Turn a little bad kid into a big bad kid. And it's such a big problem that it's just, they have to avoid it. They can't think past it. But at the same time, they can't torpedo the structure they have in place that supposedly manages it. Because of all these people who've got all these jobs in the care system and the councils, they're good people. They didn't know that people were getting used like that. They just thought they were having some fun with Dick. They thought, I wish I was getting fucked like that. These girls are living the dream, is what they thought. See, fucked shit, right? You work for the council and you're reading these reports as to say this girl's saying she's been sexually assaulted, and read that and be like, oh, the things they'll do for attention, because girls as messed up as that do make false accusations, a lot of them as well. So it's just a free for all. They messed up, they play the victim, they get into trouble. So when they come along with a story as to say, I've been raped, it's like, really? Or did your decisions just put you in a bad situation? For all the times you weren't, you're telling me now you were. And that be exactly why them girls are targeted, because they wouldn't be believable, because of they are crazy. In the minds of some, a perfect crime. And often one that's perfectly always got people always get away with that. That's why they're targeted. It's like the system's created the perfect situation for our needs. We can do what they want to these kids, and when they cry about it, no one will ever believe them. Why? Because they're already down in the books as being fantasists and liars. No one will believe them. And no one would believe it'd be true if anyone was to accuse us of being rapists. It's the perfect crime. It's like someone's seen the weakness in the system and just completely exploited it. And then, for years. And then others on the outside have noticed the pattern and obtained the inside information for themselves. And they've become a grooming gang. The old Rochdale grooming gang, the one that's highlighted, there's many, many different flavours of Rochdale grooming gang. Many different flavours. But that one that got caught wrong, it's funny because of, I must say funny. How in that story, the council are right at the centre of it. Firstly, Sarah Robotham blows the whistle when the girls who come to the children's sex clinic, the children's sex workshop for contraceptives, pills, and the like, sanitary goods, all for free, all taxpayer paid. They tell her a lot of stories. When the names change from Barry and Paul to Mohammed, Amir, they're like, oh my God. They've hung the whole thing on it. It covers a multi. Think of it. This is the thing that annoys me so much about Tommy Robinson. It's like the multi. It covers a multi. That narrative. Grooming gangs. They hatched it. It's the council. You are repeating the narrative born of Rochdale activists, and then strategists. The fucking deepest, darkest minds of people who like to cover up a massive multitude of sins with one great big hangout. That one incident, one of 100 that she could have blown the whistle on and say, hang on a minute, these are little kids, who are they having sex with? They're given a pass. But every week she's there handing out these passes. Good luck, hey, give them one from me. Like giving out to little girls contraceptives. And to her it's sexual health. This is about the welfare of, like, no, it's like you should have a copper in the place talking to them all to say, what are you doing having sex? But say having sex with other kids, no problem. As soon as the names change to Pakistani names, oh my God, we've got a massive problem here. I'm saying these kids who are going to the clinic, because that's the thing. It's like when you find yourself in the framework of the NHS and the council have now had a look at your file by way of, are you a mental health endemic, quite early in life. So when they do that, you get things like assisted teaching, where you like one-to-one tuition, things like that. So you're in some ways isolated from the other kids in the school and given special rights and privileges. They make a big deal when the council are involved in that, and it's as a matter of course, they start with their education as to say, and we know that you mentals are all a little bit promiscuous, and that's normal, and so here's a clinic you can call into where they'll give you all your stuff for free. Now it's like, that clinic is not available to all. You have to have been like recommended to it. Who dishes out recommendation? The council do, based on what? Psychological diagnosis. It's like they've been programmed and have at it. Something deeply fucking sinister of how that world of when this shit was going on was telling little girls, do the fuck what you want, whenever you want to, and you've been given all these new weapons here, and you really don't have to take responsibility for your actions, and your own experience of life will have taught you, if you cry enough, you'll always get what you want. Now be on your way, blessed ones. They've been set up for an incredible fall. They've been unknowingly, naively fed to a machine that will just say, wow, ready-made whores. Wow, the government is better at breaking whores than any pimp who ever lived. It's savagely bad. It's sickeningly disheartening, and it's like there's people who've from say this place, plenty of people who've lived good lives, made the best of it, but so many others who've taken the wrong turns in life and gone on the wrong fucking direction, and bad things have happened to them. And it's like it were all decided in that period as to when they were between 13 and 16, whether they did or didn't partake in all this fucking sick insanity. Psychosexual romance between kids and adults with the minds of children who are so fucking naive as to think, oh, she knows nothing. I can control her. No, you fucking can't, mate. It's a sickness. And it hasn't got a name. And it's just been allowed to just run riot and spread in this whole place. I'll give it a name, shall I? It's malignant narcissism that acts like a fucking virus. It ends up turning you into a fucking junkie and stealing your soul. That's what it is. And it's abuse born out of the deepest form of fucking sorrow. It's really sick. But you know, to address it as being, I'd say I'm one of these people. It's so prudish that they called me once upon a time. I'm like, no. There's something built in here that says that this is a little bit out of order, and that people are going to have fucking things to say about this, and this is it's immoral. What do you mean immoral? Oh, fucking brother John.